on like what my process of songwriting is, and I had a time limit in the interview, so of course I stuck to it. But in this video, I'm gonna explain more in detail on how I actually write my songs. And I guess you could also say that this is kind of like a tutorial for anyone who's interested in songwriting or wants to make their own songs. But before we get into the video, I want you guys to think about it for a second. How much do you really want to write your music? Because, you know, it's not as easy as some people make it seem. But having said that, don't stress yourself out because it's not a rocket science either. But yeah, you know, it takes a lot of hard work, consistency, patience, and dedication, so you need to be prepared for that if you really are serious about writing music. Once you have that figured out, it's time to start your journey. Also, songwriting and music overall is not supposed to be a chore. It's supposed to be a fun and enjoyable thing to do. So just ask yourself for a minute, am I really enjoying what I'm doing here, or am I just doing it because I feel pressured or I feel like it's a chore for me to do? But once you have that figured out, it's time to start with your musical journey. You can write your song lyrics about anything you want, whether it's something about, you know, something you've experienced in the past, or whether it's just a general topic. Whenever I'm writing lyrics, I usually follow a certain structure, something like this. And this structure is actually widely used among, you know, songwriters and musicians. Occasionally, I might add a post-chorus after each chorus. In case you don't know, the chorus is the part which keeps repeating throughout the song, and it's actually the most memorable and catchy part. And the bridge is like perhaps the climax of your song. Pre-choruses come right before the chorus, and they slowly build up to the chorus. And verses are something that people used to start their songs with, and they also come right after the first chorus. Now you might have all these questions in your head like, do I have to make the lyrics rhyme? How can I make my lyrics relatable, etc.? Personally, I'm a big rhyming gal, but having said that, you don't need to make your lyrics rhyme if you don't want to. And the way you make your lyrics relatable is just, you know, it's mainly just writing your heart out, and it also comes with practice. You can write your lyrics with a pen and paper, or you can also use the computer. Feel free to use the dictionary to find words that rhyme, or you can also use it to find words that make your lyrics sound a bit more sophisticated. But yeah, this is how I write my lyrics. I usually try to be as open and expressive as I can. And yeah, I also use the dictionary to find rhyming words as well as, you know, sophisticated language. The next thing I do after writing my lyrics is creating chord progressions as well as choosing a time signature, tempo, and scale for my song. Don't worry, I know I said a lot of things, but I'll break it down for you all. So I just said chord progressions. So what are chords, you might be wondering? Well, chords are a group of musical notes, typically consisting of 3 or more notes that can be played at once. And chord progressions typically consist of 4 chords. And choosing a tempo and time signature just helps you make sure that you're not going off beat while you're singing. The way you can make chord progressions is just by going on your piano and just testing out a bunch of different things and see what chords you like the best. You can of course use the guitar, and if you don't have access to any musical instrument, you can obviously search up online musical instruments thanks to technology. And choosing a time signature and tempo is relatively simple. All you need to do is just go on the internet and search up an online metronome, or you can download metronome apps on the App Store or Google Play. And depending on the mood of your song, you can choose whether you want your song to be a major or minor key. Typically, I like to choose major keys for happy songs and minor keys for sad songs, but hey, you know, it can even work the other way around. You can make happy songs with minor keys, and you can also make really sad songs with major keys. So yeah, you do you. Once you have these things, it's time to start making the melody. There are a few different ways you can make your melody. For example, one of the ways is I go on my guitar or piano and I play some chords on it and I try to hum along and see what melody I like. Or if you want, you can play some notes on the piano or the guitar, and you can also try to make a melody out of those notes. And if you don't have access to internet, well, I'm sorry for you, but your journey of songwriting has ended before it even started. I'm joking. Okay, I swear, I'm joking. If you don't have access to internet, that's completely fine too. You don't need any musical instrument to make melodies. You can actually just do them in your head, and that's actually something that I do quite often. One quick tip when you're making melodies is make sure you have like your voice memos or your voice recorder open, just because, you know, like let's say you come up with a really good melody and you don't want to lose it, you can record it and then save it so that you can remember it. I would say when you're making a melody, start with the chorus because that's the part that repeats and is actually the most memorable. So so it's the most important, and you want to make sure that your chorus melody is really catchy, and you want to make sure that people can vibe to it whenever they hear it. And after making the melody, it's all just about recording it. Now I'm gonna give you guys a few tips on writing your songs. Tip number 1 is to be patient. I used to be really impatient, and to this day sometimes I am, and I want results quickly, but honestly it doesn't work that way. You need to put in the effort and you need to put in time, otherwise you won't get good results. And don't worry if your first song doesn't come out well, because for me, when I first started writing lyrics and melodies, I was terrible, I have to admit. And don't worry about it, it's completely normal. So don't worry about it, it's completely normal to fail on the first try. In fact, when you fail, you actually learn from it. Remember, winners are not people who never fail, but people who never give up. Which leads us to tip 2, never give up. And I know what you're thinking, but sometimes I get really stressed out. And don't worry, it's completely normal. We all feel that way sometimes, because I know I said in the beginning that music is supposed to be a fun thing, but let's face it, even I get stressed out sometimes when things don't go my way and I don't come up, maybe the lyrics are not good or I didn't get the melody I wanted, etc. So yeah, if you're ever stressed out, you can think of it 2 ways. 1, I'm gonna push through it, or 2, I'm gonna take a break. And either one of those is fine, because when you push through, you actually learn, but when you take a break, you actually let your mind to rest, which can actually help you, become more creative and productive later. Tip number 3, let's say you want to write a song, but you're not able to be creative. It's okay, it's completely normal. It's actually called writer's block, where when people write, they're not able to think of anything to write about. So yeah, and I've had those many times before. I've also had those melody blocks where I just couldn't come up with a melody that I like. In this case, inspiration can be really helpful and useful. So yeah, just maybe you can search up, one of your favorite artists and listen to some of their songs, see what they write about and take inspiration from that. Or you can also just search up on Google for song ideas. I guarantee you I'm sure Google can give you a bunch of answers for that. But yeah. Tip number 4, don't overthink and don't be afraid of making mistakes. This is probably the most important tip for me. It's because I noticed that whenever I overthink too much, I'm not able to be creative and I can't come up with any ideas. Or when I think about, or when I'm afraid of messing it up, I actually end up messing up. So the solution to that is really just don't, be confident about it and really just enjoy what you're doing, because I've noticed that whenever I feel confident and whenever I'm enjoying what I'm doing, then I usually don't tend to mess up as much as when I do overthink. And even if you do make mistakes, it's completely fine. Whenever I make mistakes, kind of feel bad about it, but then I say, okay, well, I'll take this as an opportunity to learn so that I can improve myself and not make that mistake in the future. So yeah, those were some tips, and this is how I write my songs. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section, and I would be really happy to answer them. Alright, I've been talking a lot. Yeah, love you all so much. Okay, I'm gonna get some water now because I've been talking a little too much, but yeah, I love you guys, and Nini Uppuluri signing off. Bye-bye.